Welcome to the Uncensored Channel. Ron Partain here with the famous, the one and only Dr. Jim Willie. Dr. Heavy on the Doctor. It is Friday, March the 5th? Or 4th?
Today is April 4th.
April 4th. Yeah, I don't see very well. Today is the...
You got caught up with April Fool's Day. You got lagged April Fool's Day.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. It is April 4th, and man, it's hard to believe that we're all 4 months into the freaking year. It is just like screamed by.
I know.
So,
it's moving, and we're into baseball season. I don't know if you've noticed that the Dodgers are doing well. You may have not have noticed that, Ron.
Yeah, no, I would never notice that they just beat the record for most consecutive wins to start the season from a defending champion.
Yeah, well, they've got
the previous record. Yes,
star-studded lineup, and the question is, will their pitching be great? Probably will be quite good.
Oh, anyway, I think it's going to be more than great.
I'd like to be, serious and stick to
sure
the theme here. It's
always
understood good to razz you. Because I don't know that you're aware that the baseball season started. I'm not really aware that
Jim,
might not be aware of that.
I was waiting with bated breath from November.
God, that's hopeless. That's really hopeless.
Well, for me, I don't really.
You got a championship team. Okay, you got a championship team. Okay.
Yeah, I like.
Okay, I'm noticing.
I love baseball. I love baseball. I don't love football. I don't love basketball. I kind of like hockey, but I am a baseball guy. So that should tell you all you need to know.
I'm a football guy, and I like baseball. It's great to watch baseball and take a nap. It's not as good. It's not as good as golf. Golf is the best.
I will end with this. I mean,
like a Saturday afternoon nap.
I know you want to be serious, but I'm just going to tell you this. This will give you a little bit of a level of the devotion that I had. So when the Dodgers played the Cubs for 2 games in Tokyo at the Tokyo Dome, the game started at
I remember.
It was 7 p.m. local, but it was 3 a.m. Pacific, and I got up for both of those games and watched them.
Well.
So
more power to you.
Give you a little bit of my loyalty.
Dodge boy fan.
Well, that's my only.
I did not call them Dodgers when I was little. We called them Dodge boys.
That's my only escape from the freaking chaos that is the world. So, anyway.
Yeah, I hear you. This is ramping up. As it all ramps up in a nasty way, it's also ramping up in a hidden positive way, and we're just not told much. I got to start off with something very unusual, Ron, and it happened a few months ago. I did a consult call, and the guy said to me, and I don't remember what state he was in. I just don't remember. He said, Jim, I have something very unusual to tell you. I have a good friend, and he has a business partner who got a contract to do vast expansion in Guantanamo. He and his group, it was like 4 or 5 contractors because it's such a big job. Mm-hmm. And he said, Jim, we're talking about like 100 workers. And my friend was like a foreman. Okay, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. My client had a friend, and his friend was part of a company. And the company had this guy who was his buddy and his colleague and, co-worker. And the coworker was a foreman, and he said there were about 100 different people from several companies. They all got contracts, and it was to do vast expansion in Guantanamo. And I said, explain the expansion. Was it lateral or was it vertical? And he said, it was mostly vertical. And I said, how deep? And he said, over 15 floors.
Wow.
He said every major facility in Guantanamo, every one, Ron, and there are like 4 or 5 of them, every one of them was expanded down 15 floors. He said there were tribunals, tribunal conference center, I don't know what you call them, rooms, courtrooms. There were jails. There, he said he said that the report was true. They had a high-end visitor center, like some elite son of a bitch has a family, and they don't want to just mingle with the swarthy, sweaty natives. They want to have a nice luxury type apartment. Pardon my glasses, but I can read so much better with them. They're 1.25 magnification. I don't have any prescription. Anyway, all right. So that's pretty important. Vertical expansion, and we get the satellite pictures to see the lateral expansion.
Right.
But we don't get anything on the vertical expansion. We're getting both, which means it's squared. The expansion is squared. If they say, well, we got 5 times expansion laterally, well, make it 25 because they're going down. This is really important. I think there are a lot of arrests going on. There were some Twitter X messages like Ezra Cohen, Watnick, and John Kennedy Jr. and Bongino. Is it Bongino or Bongino? I think it's
Bongino.
Bongino. If he were on the other side of a battle with me, I would be very worried.
Yep.
I wouldn't want him as an adversary. And as sharp as Bongino is with the actual, hot action, the battle, Kash Patel seems to be very powerful with the pen and the investigations and paperwork. All right. So the point from those 3 different men that I mentioned is that there's a lot going on. There's a lot of arrests going on. I think we're filling up an extra Greenland prison. I'm encouraged that a lot is going on. But at the same time, Ron, we cannot ignore that there is a lot of really nasty, nefarious, evil going on. It was a month or 2 ago, they dumped the fog. They dumped the fog on cities.
I remember that.
And what I recall in my study was that the condensation was examined, off leaves, off plants, like long aloe plants and regular leaves from deciduous trees. They analyzed the drip, and it was the exact same context as what was in the vaccine, the mRNA vaccine. Okay, we're getting attacked. And we're also getting a lot of food toxin attacks. And hats off to Robert Kennedy. And I'm really tired of the criticism. They say, oh, Kennedy's not doing anything. Pam Bondi at Attorney General is not doing anything. Kash Patel not doing anything. We don't have the Epstein files. We don't have the John Kennedy files. We don't have the Durham files. We don't have jack shit files. And I say, why don't you just shut up?
Take a frickin' Xanax and calm down.
Let it happen. I say, what do you expect? It's been a couple months. Now it's almost 3 months. Let it happen. Let it evolve. Let them do their job. And I tell numerous clients this, not the harsh message, but numerous clients I've told, you got to be aware that the FBI and the Department of Justice and other departments are loaded still with Biden and Obama holdovers. They need to be cleaned out. There's a lot of resistance. And you remember it was about a month ago, there was a raid on the FBI office in New York City, and a guy named Dennehy was fired. That was to grab Epstein files. They decided, the cabal decided to put the Epstein files and some of the worst, to leave it in the New York City FBI office and hide it there. And Kash Patel, dug it out and arrested people and arrested a rather impressive looking guy. The best memory I have is his name was Dennehy, something like that. I know it was an Irish name. All right, there's a lot going on, Ron, and I don't cotton at all to the criticism that Bondi, Patel, and Kennedy are doing nothing. I think they're doing a lot, and they're creating a lot of waves. I think they're producing a lot of backlash. And, we need to see some key events like release of names of the Epstein files and some arrests. We can't hear about talk. We need to see arrests. And we can't hear, well, there's a lot of arrests of Epstein and we're not releasing the names of who's been tribunaled. I use it as a verb, pardon me. I want to know names who are in the tribunals. I want a lot of different things. I want the FDA, the FDA, Food and Drug Admin. I want that completely overhauled. I think it would be a good idea if Trump said, we're going to eliminate the FDA and we're going to start all over with the new FDA. We're not going to fix it. We're going to eliminate it and rebuild it.
Can I offer a suggestion on that? Is I don't believe that any agency that regulates drugs should also regulate food.
Well, that's interesting, and I don't think
I think you should have food on one side and medications on the other. So, but no, the Food and Drug Administration is.
I think they should block.
Good.
Well, I think we should go much further, Ron. We should break up conglomerates. The big pharma companies now are involved with the food processing companies. The big pharma companies now are buying up vitamin companies. I heard that vitamin B is being poisoned.
I wouldn't doubt that
I've
at all.
heard a lot of different things. We need to break up the conglomerates because they're like a hydra. They're like an octopus. We don't need that. Trump needs to do a real serious antitrust violation, divestiture breakup. Remember what they did with AT&T? That was in the, I think, early 90s, maybe late 80s. They made SBC Global. They made 9X. That was to apply to New England, where I was at the time in Boston. I don't remember what the name was for the breakup for the California area. I just remember the Northeast and the Midwest. Anyway, they did that. Well, why don't they continue to do that? Why? I honestly, I think the AMA has to be RICO'd. The American Medical Association. It needs to be RICO'd.
I agree.
They've been banning natural remedies. And natural remedies, by the way, that is about the most mild of their violations. Like turmeric for inflammation. And more serious stuff. Well, ivermectin is actually a medicine. There are so many different, like turmeric. I don't want to list them because I can't remember them, but you know what I mean. Okay, so they would ban doctors. I got a story, and I like retelling it once in a while. I have a client who's in South Florida, and he had a serious inflammation problem with his knee and his hip. He went to his doctor, and he got a big pharma drug, and it did absolutely nothing, and it cost a lot of money. Okay, this is their typical. Cost a lot of money, did absolutely nothing. So I went back to the doctor. This is the general greater Miami area. Went back to the doctor, and he said, well, try a different drug. And it was another one from Big Pharma. Cost a lot of money, it didn't do anything. So my client went back to the same doctor and said, I'm not going to ask you for a third. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Amen.
So I'm going to assume that you don't know jack shit about how to remove inflammation, and you're a doctor, and you have access to the entire Big Pharma medicine chest. And Ron, an amazing thing happened. The doctor followed him out to the parking lot and said, take turmeric. I can't say it in my office because we're all bugged. The AMA bugs all doctor offices. And I said, like in major cities, I think they're all, but let's just assume in major cities. So my client went back to his same doctor he said it was 5 or 6 weeks later. And and had a little note and said, "I'm all better." And he said, and his words were, "Hey, it's good to see you again." And he's got his note, "I'm all better. The turmeric worked. Thanks a lot. It's good to see you. You're looking really good today. You look fresh and you look, you look happy. And all right, nice seeing you. Bye now." And he walked out. And the doctor followed him out and said, "I'm glad to hear it. I hope you realize that I would lose my license." Okay, this is really nasty. If I give you a cure that doesn't come from Big Pharma, I lose my license. Okay, we need to RICO these people. We need to RICO the hospitals that made a mandate. There's right now a case, Ron, and it's brain tumor explosion in a Boston hospital. There's something like 8 or 10 nurses that all have advanced brain tumor. And they reason, they're speculating. Okay, the intelligent people are speculating. The stupid cabal, corrupt people are saying, well, things happen. Yeah, things happen like 1 in 1,000. They happen in groups of 8. Yeah, like fires that I just encountered again. I had my 9th fire, Ron. 9 fires, 3 properties. Wow. 9 fires, 3 properties. The evidence is overwhelming now that the mRNA has done damage. And I don't know if people remember this, but Robert Kennedy has a successful case before the Supreme Court. And I think it was about, 8 or 10 months ago, before he became I call it health secretary. All right, there's human services also. Yeah, and there's HUD and all that. But he's the health secretary, and he's in charge of the whole shebang. He had a successful case before the Supreme Court where the Supreme Court actually stated, and they ruled, this is not a vaccine. It is an mRNA device, and it is a gene editing tool. What they forgot to put in, though, is it was a negative destructive gene editing tool. You can edit positively, like inserting the insulin producing element of your chromosomes, or you can make it a negative gene editing device where you rip out part of your immune system, which is what they did. And rip out part of the genetic, the reproductive parts, the reproductive elements of chromosomes to, bring about sterility. I don't know if you've heard this, Ron, but there's a national, I don't want to call it an epidemic, but let's just say there's a national event going on, a medical phenomenon going on. Women in the United States who've been vaccinated with the XX, the mRNA, Pfizer, Moderna, whatever, women in their young 30s are going through menopause.
I've heard something like that, yes.
Not a minor degree, on a big scale. All right, we're being gradually exterminated as a species, poisoned, ripped out immune system, made overweight, with obesity, with high fructose corn syrup.
Yep.
Poison, toxins in the food, glyphosate
yep.
to dry
Yep.
wheat. What the hell is that all about? Okay.
And
Robert Kennedy,
a portion, a lot of people. I'm sorry, Jim. I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is important.
Go ahead. Just go ahead.
Glyphosate is what they use in Roundup, and that is a portion of what was in. That was a portion of what was included in Agent Orange that they sprayed all over Vietnam for foliate to disfoliate the areas.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And they use it to dry wheat for your bread. And they say they actually reclassified glyphosate. Big Pharma and Monsanto reclassified, I think it was Monsanto, reclassified glyphosate as an antibiotic, Ron.
Wow.
It's a herbicide.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
Herbicide.
That's sanity.
That's okay. All right. Enough about the medical side. I'm very tuned into what's going on with the dollar, the tariffs, and the gold market. I mean, gold is really moving, and I don't know. Go ahead.
I have a question in the chat about what's going on with the silver price. Why is silver? Why is silver dumping yesterday? Actually, there's a couple of guys that I pay attention to, and one of them was like, he looked online, or he came on to do a short video, and he said we're gonna see a lot of pain here in probably the next week or so, and a lot of things are going to go down. And he went to look at the DXY, and he looked at a lot of different things, and he said everything is down. This is very peculiar. I've never seen. Typically, when most things are down, there's at least one or two things that are going up, and this one is strange because everything is down.
Yeah.
So
stocks, bonds, crypto, and precious metals. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about commodities like the price of copper and lead and aluminum, but I assume they're down also. What we're getting is an indication of depression, economic depression. Now, you know me, Ron. I don't mince words. I've been saying now for the last year and a half, 2 years, we're stuck in an inflationary depression, and we've been in it since the lockdown. In the lockdown, it was what, 2021? No, I think it was 2020.
2020, March of 2020 is when they started the lockdowns.
Okay, well that initiated the depression. You don't have economic activity when you have a lockdown. Duh. Okay, and when you stop the lockdown, you have a lot of economic damage, like small business got wrecked. Not completely, but they got severely damaged. Big business, like, oh gosh, I got a buddy in Los Angeles. He said, Jim, Neiman Marcus was open, and I was forced to shut down with my 3 little stores, clothing stores. Okay, this is what happened. The mom and pop lumber yards were shut down, and Home Depot and Lowe's were all kept open. Okay, it happened all over the place. All right, my point is that following the lockdown, we went from extreme depression with high inflation to moderate depression and moderate inflation, and we haven't gotten out of it yet. I did a oh gosh, what was it? I think it was the Chapwood price inflation. I did it several months ago, and what we got for the year 2023 and the first part of 2024 was that we had an 8 to 10% price inflation. And we lie, whatever we lie by in price inflation, we lie by in economic growth, because we adjust nominal growth by the price inflation. So right. I don't know if that sinks in with a lot of people. I don't think it really does. They say we had 3% price inflation, but we really had 8. And they said that we had like 1 or 2% growth in economic growth. Well, you have to drop that by 5, because that's what you lied about on your price inflation. So we didn't have 2% growth. We had -3. That's a depression. -3% growth and 8% price inflation. I'm being moderate. I think it's worse than that. Okay, we've been stuck in that now for 4 years. Biden didn't encourage economic growth. He encouraged sabotage. He did things to raise the price of food. He did things to raise the price of fuel. And we're going to get some progress, Ron, I think, in the price of food and fuel. Just general for food, and for fuel, I mean gasoline, diesel. Diesel is very important for the entire distribution chain, for the retail industry. And not just retail, it's the industrial industry.
1,000%.
It's the entire economy has distribution, whether they're computers or they're farm equipment parts or they're cell phones for retail or clothing for retail. Distribution. And we are so behind globally, the United States, because of the Rockefeller influence. We don't have a lot of train delivery with more efficiency. We don't. High-speed train to deliver goods to retail centers? No, we don't do that. We have trucks. We have trucks, and
Well,
you know,
in
when I
California, we have track that goes between Bakersfield and Merced for high speed rail. That was
well,
supposed to be
that's
a
great.
joke. That was
When are they going
supposed
to
to be
start
that
using it a lot?
that,
I,
that was
I have a
supposed to be a joke.
definition. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a definition, Ron, of what is obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, I was a teenager, we had a lot of trucks, and they ran on diesel, and we still do. That was 50 years ago. That was 55 years ago. Okay, when I was a little kid, we did not have a lot of trains. We had the interstate highway system, and we still do. 55 years.
Yep.
We still do. Okay, I have a friend, a colleague, who went to Beijing and went to Shanghai, and he did it about 10 years ago. He said, Jim, I just wanted to see Hong Kong, Shanghai, Beijing, and that's about all I saw. I went a little bit north. I didn't do too much because there was so much to see in Shanghai. He said the largest train center, it was like Grand Central Station spread out in 5 acres. He said there were 20 train lines. They're going to different parts of China. They're all high-speed, 120-mile-an-hour trains. He said the United States doesn't have anything like that. Okay, we're way, way obsolete, and we think we're cool.
Yep.
We're not.
Well, and
backward.
If you really want to get a true indication of how backwards we are, go and look at our airports compared to the airports of around the world, like in the major cities around the world. It's not even close. I mean, they're like our airports are old, antiquated, dingy. I mean, there are a few that are relatively new, but for the vast majority, probably 80% of our airports are antiquated.
Yep. Okay. Well, this reindustrialization, I remember a couple of months ago, I had a complaint that the reindustrialization looked like it was very much focused with artificial intelligence and related industries, like, data farms and search engine farms, stuff like that, electric power generating plants. That's not the case anymore. Now it's mushrooming. We got a lot of different. I got to pitch my March report. In the March report, there is well over $1 trillion, close to $2 trillion in commitment for foreign direct investment. It's getting funny. There's a term. It's FDI, not the cops, Federal Bureau of Investigation. It's foreign direct investment, FDI. And it's a national statistic that is kept track of. We've got a tremendous amount of FDI coming in to the United States. It's investment for industrialization and production and output. But there's a wrinkle to it that's really quite positive. And, like Johnson & Johnson and GlaxoSmithKline, they both have commitments for a significant industrial investment in the United States. So we're getting our U.S. multinationals coming home. In addition, oh my gosh, I think it's a $1.5 trillion commitment with United Arab Emirates and almost the same amount commitment from Saudi Arabia. I think Saudi Arabia is going to be making a couple new refineries in the United States and thumbing their nose at the Rockefellers who want shortages and high prices. Okay, we had Biden. We had that fake bullshit. It's all done now, and we're getting a lot of I love the criticisms and the accusations, and they're just piling up. It's like they're building a pyramid. And you know what's at the top of the pyramid, Ron, regarding Biden and all his destructive policies and his auto pen? When they keep building the case, what's at the peak of the pyramid? What's the conclusion? Biden was dead. Okay, that's where we're heading. I think this is going to be very interesting to discredit the Biden show. and prove that he didn't even know about the executive orders. Now there are big questions. I know I'm moving around, but so be it. The big question now is, who ordered the auto pen? If Biden didn't know what the heck he was doing, who ordered the Biden pen? And the answer is Obama, Alex Soros, and the Rockefellers.
Yeah.
Okay, Obama had a third term. And, you know, we keep on going. Okay, there was the destructive policy, and I'm just picking on one thing because it sticks out so prominently, the colonial pipeline. In the first week of the new Biden show, after the fake inauguration of a dead man, they shut down the colonial pipeline in order to raise the price of natural gas. And they did a whole lot of obstructions for liquefied natural gas plants in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
They did everything they could to raise the price of fuel, and then they went around to the different farms and said, with falsified evidence, you've got a sick chicken. We're going to have to burn down your entire hotel and kill all 10,000 chickens in your chicken ranch because you got a sick bird. Okay? And it was falsified. Okay, I had a client, and you know, these consult calls that I do run, they're very big investigative tools. I've done over 810 of them now, and it's been over 5 years. I've done 3 this week. Maybe it was 4. I lost track. But there was a guy in Iowa, and he said, Jim, we farmers and chicken ranchers, I don't really know the right name. I call it chicken rancher. They've got like 5-level hotel, and they're like 80 yards long.
Mm-hmm.
And they got 10,000 chickens in there. They're not free-range chickens. They're chickens that are captured, and they run around, and they never really get a lot of fresh air in the meadow. But, okay, what he said to me, Ron, stuck with me, firm. He said, Jim, word is out. I know of 2 cases. One is just, you know, like 20, 30 miles away. That's not a lot when you're talking about a ranch. 20, 30 miles away, there might only be about 4 different properties that are 20 or 30 miles in a radius. But there was another one in Iowa. He said Indiana and Iowa were being attacked by the agricultural officials. What do you call it? The Department of Agriculture. They were coming in and making false claims about chickens having virus, avian flu,
Right.
and they burned down the entire chicken ranch. And here's the zinger, though. He said they told the guy who's 30 miles away from me, who resisted. And he said, I want to see verification of your report that my chickens are sick. Well, you've got 2 that are sick. We want some cross verification. And they said, oh, no. If you obstruct this, we're going to give you $1 million fine.
Right.
That was one thing. Then they said, if you allow this to take place, all for the better, all for the greater good, to eliminate avian flu and that tremendous threat to humanity, you will be given a compensation of $5 million. And it'll take 90 days to receive. They never got it. They got bankrupt.
Of course they didn't.
They filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah, of course they did.
Okay, this is what the Biden show did. And you know, I gotta throw this in. When I was in grade school, in 8th grade, you know, my brother was in 8th grade, and Tommy Vilsack was one of my brother's friends. And I was in 7th grade, and I had some friends, and we'd occasionally get a big gang, like 8 or 10 of us, and we'd go to a movie. You know, like I think I saw Dr. No, you know, the James Bond. I think I saw Dr. No with Vilsack and a bunch of guys. Vilsack, when he was in 8th grade, he was like 6'4", 6'3", and I was like 5'10". I wasn't done growing, maybe 5'9". I peaked in my height when I was, I think, about 15. I hit 6 feet, and I was very happy. I said, okay, I don't care about going anymore. Anyway, Tommy Vilsack was in our gang, and he's in big, deep trouble if he's not already executed. We just don't get verification. But he was a pro-Biden clown, and he went to law school in upstate New York, I think Albany Law School, and he met a woman there, and he got married, and she was connected in Iowa, and got introduced to Hillary, and Hillary campaigned for Tommy Vilsack, and he became governor of Iowa, and later became Department of Agriculture secretary for Obama, and then also Biden. So he got his soul bought. Okay, that's how personal it can get when you know somebody. That was 1 degree of separation. He wasn't a great friend of mine. I just knew him. Oh, hi, Tommy. How you doing? Hey, you're looking really tall today. He never got checked. You know how it was when you're young, you want to go to a movie and it's like 17 and over and you can't get in. Well, Tommy Vilsack never got questioned for his age because he was a good 6 or 8 inches taller than most of us.
Right.
And when I look up Tommy Vilsack, there's nothing in current activity, nothing. It said that he was the acting agriculture secretary in the final years. No, I think it was long gone by, Tommy. How did that hemp necktie fit? The dirt nap.
Right.
All right. I think we're going to see some progress, Ron, in lowering gasoline prices. We've already seen it. I think we're going to see price of food across the board in many areas. I think it's going to come down. The price of eggs has already come down. Trump still is trying to halt the Department of Agriculture from spreading this, contamination story about avian flu. He has a lot of work to do. Anyone who thinks this is a 3-month project, you're nuts. You're crazy.
Amen to that.
This is a 2 or 3 year project. 2 or 3 years, Ron. Okay, I tell people when we're done with this year, you're still going to have problems with the mRNA vaccine, and Robert Kennedy is still going to be battling. At the end of this year, we might get some reform of the FDA and its administration. The executives, the directors. At the end of this year, we might still have some issues with the CDC and the predatory billion-dollar profits they got from killing people with genocide with the mRNA vaccine. At the end of this year, we're still going to be dealing with Epstein data. We're still going to be saying where are all the arrests when we only hear about some. Okay, these are powerful people who make powerful counter threats. Okay, you do that, we're going to kill your little girl. She's only 9 years old, and nobody's really careful when she's coming home from school. Okay, this is how it works.
It's
scary, Ron. It's really scary.
That's a frightening prospect. And you know what? To your point there, I think that's what that is one way that it's just one way that they keep people in line is by threatening their families. Another way that they do it is by having blackmail material on them. I was
going to get to that next.
Deviant activity, but yes, but those are the two. Those are the I was just having this discussion with a friend of mine the other day.
It's basic bribery.
Well, yeah, bribery is the easy one. But if they actually have you in compromising positions, that's the easiest one and the cheapest one for them to do. But I digress.
I digress. I love that. I laugh every time I hear I digress. The devices to control somebody are many. Imagine, just Ron, let's just imagine that you're corrupt, or somebody who's corrupt, and they've got $1 million bank account in the Cayman Islands and no trouble to move 20,000 at a time, no trouble at all. Mm-hmm. Or they got a bank account in Mexico. You're in California, they got a bank account in Mexico, and no trouble at all moving 12,000 at a time, no trouble at all. Okay, imagine the pain and the threat and the fear after you've had 3 or 4 years of using it. Well, I used that to pay the tuition for my kid in his freshman year of college. If that goes away, what am I going to do for the sophomore year? Okay, it's continuation. That's a big issue. Oh, I used that Cayman Island account to buy an SUV and tow my boat that I bought last year with the same account.
Right.
And I really like going on the lake in Chautauqua in central New York. It's just so much fun. And I have my friends and just draw on another couple thousand. We have a few parties. They have to give that up. They have to give that up. And that's not an easy thing to do. Once you've ingrained the corruption into your lifestyle. Well, I used to pay my property taxes with that extra little cabin in the woods. And how am I going to pay the property tax? Oh, gosh. Okay. Then, I don't know if you've heard this story of Bernie Sanders. I'm going to be brief in it because it's rather sordid. Bernie Sanders was, inducted. I'm careful with my words. He was inducted into the Senate after he was voted into the Senate. Mm-hmm. And according to the insider word that I heard from a military source, he had to go through an extreme event of abuse with a little boy from behind. And he said, no, I can't do this. And they said, look, we are going to put a bullet in your family member's head. I think it was his wife, but I'm not sure. This is called family member. We're going to put a bullet in your wife's head right here in the other room if you don't follow through with this, and we're going to video record it. Okay, this is what they do. And Bernie Sanders broke down and wept. And now he has to lie about it all in front of the whole nation in the Congress. That's just one. Now they got a lot of other devices. They murder people. Okay, look what happened to this woman. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but it was kind of like Jufrey. She got hit by a bus after accusing one of the royal princes of raping her.
Prince Andrew, yep.
She got hit by a bus. Prince Andrew, okay, good. I didn't know which prince. He's the one that's associated with Epstein. Yeah, and it's not the two sons of Prince Charles who's now dead. It's not. Okay, Prince Charles is dead. He was taken care of, and suddenly appearing on the scene with a double, and they call him now King Charles. Sign up for the newsletter, and I'll show you a picture. Side by side, the old Prince Charles and the new King Charles. They're not the same guy. You need it to be side by side, Ron. Anyway, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of manipulation and control. I've heard it said that over half the senators are being blackmailed. And if they have a little flag or tiny plaque on their Senate office door, which is the little country in the southeast corner of the Mediterranean, then they're probably being blackmailed and funded. Okay, so what we have is a very large account to a little country in the southeast corner of the Mediterranean. And they use some of that large account to bribe the senators and congressmen to vote a certain way. And I'm sorry to say, I think Trump has a little bit of that influence. Otherwise, why wouldn't he call out Gaza for genocide? And why would he be provoking war with Iran? And I have to say something, Ron. I brought that up, but I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Well, I'm just going to say that I think and I'm not that I'm really talking about, I'm going to talk peripherally. I am not of the opinion that that is his loyalty. I am of the opinion that that is his imaginary loyalty to keep them believing that that is his loyalty, but his true loyalty is to us. Because if that is his loyalty and he is leading us like lambs to the slaughter, I have a very difficult time with subscribing to that belief system.
Me too. I'll tell you what I have believed now for several months, because we got a lot of this on the campaign trail. It's not just since inauguration. I believe Trump is going to bring 8 or 10 people to the stage, bring them forward, and they're going to be promoting genocide in Gaza and war in Iran. And then he steps back and says, look, we want to pressure them, but we don't want the war. But I really don't know if he wants a Trump hotel in Gaza. I really just don't know. Okay?
I think that's just blustery
really
talk.
Just don't know. I know I'm not joking around. I really don't know. Has he said one word against genocide? Has he said one word about relief workers being murdered? Has he said one word about the children being killed? Has he said one word about cutting off food aid? Has he said one word in criticism of what's going on in Gaza? Not one.
No, okay. He hasn't. But again, that's not necessary. That's not evidence that he is in support of the that little sliver of land. That is evidence that it appears as though he's in support of that little sliver of land. So anyway,
okay,
I mean,
and
we may agree to disagree on that.
Maybe he's not allowed to be critical, Ron.
Right, maybe.
I don't think he's permitted to be critical. I think that's. I think he's got some handlers. Let's just call it that. I don't like the word leash. I like handler.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to disagree with that a little bit, because, and then let me push back just for a second. I think that he deliberately ran the way that he ran with his own money so that he would not be subservient to anybody who paid for him. Now, I know that there's a lot of people who were saying, "Oh, well, look at what he took all that money from Adelson. He took all that money from Adelson." Okay, well, maybe.
Thiel.
But Adelson, yeah, I know who Peter Thiel is, but he also took money from Adelson, and Adelson told him, "Look, you're going to make Marco Rubio your vice president," and he's like, "Yeah, that's not going to happen." But we'll find a role for him. So, I mean,
yeah, and they found a good one.
Well, they did.
So far, so good.
Well, so but see, the thing about it is with Rubio is, and I think a lot of people lose sight of this. If he doesn't like Rubio in that position, he just fire him and get a new one. And
I know.
It's like, it's like okay. So Rubio has been confirmed by the Senate. Okay, yeah, but just you don't think that he can't find another Secretary of State? And if that's the case, then Rubio is completely out of politics. Rubio is completely out of politics.
Yeah, I know. He gave up his Florida Senate seat for that. Well, Ron, these are all really fine points, but we need to talk about gold before we get low on time.
100%.
Gold and silver.
Gold, silver, and crypto are the topics that people are wanting to know.
Okay. This month marks my 21st anniversary of the newsletter. This month, it's 252 months of the newsletter. Wow. I have never seen the gold market this shattered. I've never seen more indicators of a broken market. We've got outstanding, huge number of delivery notices. We got an enormous amount of shipments that are being discussed in private circles of gold from London to New York and Chicago. We have audits of Fort Knox that never had a follow through. All they said was, yeah, it's all there. Not very convincing, sorry. We have evidence
Agreed.
of between 10 and maybe 50 to 1 or more multiple leasing of the same bars. We've got arbitrage going on between London and Shanghai and New York and Shanghai. We've got depletion in London. Wow. We've got China no longer converting their surpluses, trade surpluses, into treasury bonds. They're converting them into gold. We've got Japan quietly, very quietly, moving toward the gold standard with their entire financial industry, their banks and their currency. And they're being very quiet about it because they're being assassinated by the Rockefellers and Rothschilds.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the vacating of the Vatican. We've got rumors of a 1,000 miles tunnel between that goes from Rome to Istanbul and loops around and goes to Jerusalem, and reports that maybe as many as 70 to 100 miles of gold stacked, which I believe did not all come from the planet Earth. Unless it's Solomon's gold treasure. I don't know. All right. Now, we've got panic with the gold leasing. We've got panic with the exchange traded funds, the bullion banks. And we're only seeing the evidence in the gold market. We've got vast shorting in silver of the PSLV by Sprott, but it's not done by Sprott. There are people who are preying on the Sprott PSLV silver vault by shorting the shares, and then the buyer of the shorted shares, they believe they have access to the silver in the Sprott vaults, and they don't. It's not that simple.
Right.
I think there's a clause where Sprott can say, we're not doing that because we suspect that you're involved in not shenanigan, but an elaborate scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In my March report, I had my colleague research this particular issue, and I have a full page on what happens in the entire process of doing a margin short of PSLV, selling it into the market. I'm sorry, they do a margin borrow. Let me get my words right, because I want people to understand this. They do a margin borrow of PSLV shares, the exchange traded fund shares of silver. They borrow the shares and sell it into the market in a large scale. And the buyer then believes that since they own the shares, they can access the silver in the Sprott vault. And it's not that simple. So sign up for the newsletter and learn more about that. There's another phenomenon, Ron, that my research colleague, he's a brilliant guy, and he doesn't like his name being mentioned, but he's been my researcher for issues regarding the wreckage of the immune system and AED, which is a very unusual effect from the vaccine. His own mother and another family member, they each had heart attacks after not listening to his advice, and they're not dead, but they're badly hurt, they're badly injured, and now they're listening. He was my researcher for the Ukraine war. He followed Russian websites to get the truth, and he and I together concluded, well, if it's from the Western press, just flip it 180 degrees, and that's where you get largely the truth. He did some research on a fascinating issue, a fascinating factor, Ron, that I want to cover, because I want people to sign up for the newsletter on the Golden Jackass site. I want them to sign up, and in the gold section, there's the reverse arbitrage issue. Now, you might think, oh no, they can't do that. That'll lose money. Okay, I'm going to put that flimsy argument out to begin with. Imagine that the masters of the COMEX are aware that silver is about to explode. And they realize, well, we can buy silver at more than a realistic price, like in India, and not in the open market in India, in with various, what's the word, intermediaries, liaisons in India. They're buying silver and they're paying 5 to 10% more. And they're bringing it to London and bringing it to New York to supply the market. They're losing money, Ron, on a reverse arbitrage. They're buying silver where they can, like in Switzerland, and he said Switzerland, Turkey, and India. That is what his research brought to the table. And he said, Jim, it's like $1.50, $2.50 higher in price, the silver. So they lose that per ounce, Ron, and they bring in thousands and thousands. Now, I told the flimsy argument to begin with. Well, they'd lose money. They'd never do that. Well, what if the market explodes and they have to cover their shorts? Then they're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars losses. They're talking about billions. So there might be, he and I concluded that there might be way more than 1,000-fold greater losses by allowing the silver price to explode. 1,000-fold greater losses. So they're doing reverse arbitrage, I believe. And that's how they're keeping a lid on silver. We always hear, well, silver is the lit fuse. If that goes, then you're going to have big banks falter and fail. And I believe that. And now we're getting an early indicator. I've been saying now for 6-10 months, Ron, Bank of America is going to be the first one to fail. Now, I learned something in the Lehman event. And believe me, I was only in my, it was 2007, so that was my fourth year. My fourth year of the newsletter. I put it all together, and I had a couple of friends, not as many colleagues as I have now, but I had 2 or 3 friends, and one guy sent me like the credit default swap for Lehman corporate bonds, not their mortgage bond, not their stock and trade for selling to clients, but their corporate bond had a default insurance called the credit default swap. Okay, I had a year in advance warning. I gave warning a year in advance that Lehman was going to fail, and I also said Fannie Mae was going to get completely wiped clean. They had a 90% drop in their stock price. My nose tickles when I talk a lot. Okay, so
everybody always asks me why you sniffle.
I sniffle because I have a lot of phlegm, and when I talk, my nose vibrates, and I get little action in there, and it tickles a lot. And I get idiots telling me, "Oh, you're a cokehead." Yeah, right. Later this month, I will have my 38th year of drug-free activity. Anyway, back to well, I'm sorry, I forgot what I was talking about. Not the reverse arb. Oh shoot, I got diverted by my own tickly nose. What were we talking about?
I think we were talking about gold and silver and
I can't remember.
reverse arbitrage and
I know, but I was moving on from that.
Audience, give me the
oh yeah,
audience.
my buddy.
Yeah, your buddy. Okay.
Oh yeah, the layman example. Okay, that was it. I learned after the fact that Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan were bigger in the mortgage finance fraud than Lehman was. But they took over AIG. They told Hank Greenberg, move aside, get out of the way. We're taking over your company. Why? Because they wanted 100 cents on the dollar for the JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs defaulted bonds. That's why. It was a crime scene. Okay, so what happened was Lehman was selected, Ron. It was selected for the kill. And they call that, in Wall Street, they call it creating the black hole. Then they lose data and they blame Lehman. Things happen and they blame Lehman. Everything goes to the Lehman black hole and doesn't come out. Well, that evidence is gone. Lehman must have destroyed it. Right. Then they told Hank Greenberg, do not sue us. We'll give you many, many millions of dollars. Do not sue us. We don't want to kill you. All right. What I learned from the entire Lehman incident, Ron, and this was my early education, they pick the victim. And I believe Wall Street has Bank of America picked as their victim for the money laundering blame. You know, just imagine the traffic and whatever. I don't choose to talk a whole lot more about details. Just imagine the trafficking of all kinds of things. The Bush Narco Bank, that's the nickname of Bank of America. And what are they doing, Ron? Have you heard this? They're telling clients you need to move your funds out because we're going to be closing private individual accounts. Have you heard that, Bank of America?
I have not heard that, no.
Yeah, well, that's going on. And a year ago, 2 years ago, they were shutting down like, I don't know, a quarter or 20% of their retail branch banks. I had a buddy, a nice lady, nice young lady. She was very cute too. She said, Jim, they're closing BOA all across New Hampshire, and that's where she lives.
Really?
I lost touch with her. She decided to do other things, and we kind of lost track of each other. Really nice, smart, sweet, attractive young lady. So Bank of America is in trouble. And Bank of America was in trouble several months ago with really slow transactions, like for a $25,000 transfer. Hey, it's been 30 days. What the heck is going on? It's been 30 days. There's a $25,000 transfer from, an official fund like an inheritance or a corporate contract or whatever. It's been almost a month. Okay, they're kiting. They're kiting. I think Bank of America is going to be the first one to fail. And they're going to be blamed for all kinds of things, Ron. But, it's almost going to be a comedy of lies because all the Wall Street banks have severe underwater positions on their treasury bonds. They need desperately for the 10-year bond to come down in yield. Desperately. And it's starting to happen. I made another call 3 or 4 months ago. They're going to blame Trump for an economic recession when we've been in a recession for all these years. And it's been brutal.
Right.
But they're going to blame Trump. And there's a positive side to that will enable interest rates to come down. Oh my gosh. Interest rates are going to come down.
Right.
They're all coming down. The 10-year is coming down. The Fed might do some rate cuts and they might blame it on the Trump recession. It's hilarious. It's predictable. It's predictable chicanery and bullshit by the banking sector and the masters of the market. They need a lower interest rate. They didn't want to say that Biden, the fake Biden who's been dead for 7 years, they didn't want to say the fake Biden administration, I call it a show. They didn't want to say the Biden show caused a recession. They caused a depression, and they lied their way through that. Now they're going to work their way out of the lie.
They completely altered the term recession and depression. It's like, they changed the way that it's defined.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that far in their bullshit lexicon. I just deal with reality and I call out their lies. Ron, we're going to see continued gold bull market And it looks like we've got a good year of price suppression building up a coiled spring in the silver market. Okay, we pushed 34. Now we're back, to 31 or 2 as a handle. They just loaded with paper. They had a paper assault on the silver market. It's not going to work. They're not doubling down, Ron.
Right.
They doubled down years ago. They doubled down again a year ago. They're doubling down again a few months ago, and they're doubling it down again now. Well, that's 16 times
right. And
the multiple of leverage to suppress.
Let me read this to you real quick, and it's not long. It's just this is from July 25th of 2022. The Biden administration seeks to redefine the definition of recession ahead of likely bleak economic report. On Thursday this week, the Department of Commerce is set to release the second quarter gross domestic product reading. In a statement released on July 20th, the Senate Republican Policy Committee pointed out that the economy shrank by 1.6% in the first quarter of this year. The Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta forecasts a 1.6 decline in gross domestic product in the second quarter as well. Some economists are predicting a recession by the end of the year. Producer prices have increased by double digits since December, hitting 11.3% inflation in June. This reflects more price pressure in business supply. The committee went on to say that the labor market shrank. Anyway, continuing on, last week, members of the White House Council on Economic Advisors wrote in a blog post that it is unlikely that the decline in the GDP in the first quarter of this year, even if followed by another GDP decline in the second quarter, indicates a recession. The organization asks, well, that question, what's recession, and defines it as a significant decline in economic activity that is spread across the economy as it lasts more than a few months. While some maintain that 2 consecutive quarters of falling real GDP constitute a recession, that is neither the official definition nor the way economists evaluate the state of the business cycle.
Used to be 3, Ron.
Yeah.
Used to be 3. All right. Well, they can play word games all they want. Okay. Because of the recession that's now recognized, we're going to get lower interest rates. The 10-year bond is coming down. And, we got all these different mechanics and devices in there. If the long rates go down, the stock market goes up. And the stock market went up for a while. Now it's going down because it's thinking, well, this is not the Fed valuation model. This is recession reality and lower earnings. We went up before. We better take that away. And so we're getting consecutive down days, and there have been a couple of 1,000-point down days on the Dow. We got a very dangerous time. When they lower interest rates, it's going to, I think it's going to help the gold market.
Gold is down almost 3% today, and silver's down almost 8% or 7.5%.
Yeah. Well.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's recession talk. Oh, there's a recession. Let's take down gold. Okay.
Meanwhile, XRP keeps is hovering around that $2 to $2.10 mark. It's just
that's
going sideways.
Fine. That's fine. I got a problem.
No, I want it to go down. I want to buy more.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. People should not worry about XRP going down. It means that you get a discount because it's going to go way up later. Don't worry about it. Ron, we're going to get an explosion in silver, and I don't know what the trigger is going to be. There's so many triggers. There's an expression. You got so many fuse lines out there that any one of them could go off just by stepping on them. There are so many potential ignition events for the silver market. It could be, just the realization and the publicity of the multiple leasing. I'd like that to get a lot more publicity. And I think that's why they shut down the Fort Knox gold audit story. That's completely shut down. There's nothing, no follow-up at all about that. We're promised and promised and promised, and well, it's all there. Let's move on, move along. It's all there.
Right.
Yeah, that's what Mnuchin said.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
All right. We've got arbitrage going on between not London, but between Shanghai and New York. I think we got reverse arbitrage happening, and there's a really big event regarding silver that I expect to happen. It is Basel, Switzerland, saying we're not going to throw our silver into the market to keep the price down because we know principal buyers are China and India.
Right.
The Chindia phenomena.
Right. Now, last time you were here,
which means they want to realize the gain that they know is coming.
But last time you were here, you said that the likelihood that the gold and silver ratio would ever get back to what it has been historically, which is about anywhere between 8 to 10 to 1, that is like gone. It's that won't happen again. What would, if you had to predict that this is or if you had to give a forecast, what would you say that the new standard would be in terms of a gold to silver ratio?
I don't know about standard, but I know about a goal like 50 to 1. Okay. A good goal. Ron, $80 silver, 4,000 gold.
Right.
If gold continues up, we've got the gold silver ratio, which is actually a point of arbitrage. And there's the gold oil ratio, and they're all out of kilter. They're all out of kilter, and they need to be brought back in line. I think we're going to get a silver explosion in the next several months. It could be 2 months. Okay, one of the biggest errors that people make is they say, I've got this down, and it's going to happen, I think, before July 1st. I don't talk that way. I say things like, instead, we got like even odds that by the summer we're going to get the silver explosion. Even odds, 50-50. It could happen. And, it might not happen. And there might be 2 or 3 really corrupt events that prevent it from being executed. But if we get a move in silver, we're not going to stop at 40. It's going to go straight to 50. It's the Fibonacci target, 10, 20, 30, 50, 80. Okay, so if we move to 50, gold might be 3,500. And that'd be 70 to 1. This is what's coming. We got to get relief in the gold and silver arbitrage, and I think there's going to be a lot of money that certain people are going to make in that arbitrage on the gold silver ratio, and it'll be silver rising. Gold has gone up, 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 and it's from war tension, it's from U.S. government debt default risk, it's from the entire European economy collapsing. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, Ron. They're going to hold firm on the Ukraine war and the Russian sanctions, even if their economy collapses. Okay, right. So there's gold coming out of Europe. And I've got some clients who said to me, and they kept repeating and repeating, Jim, gold is leaving Europe. Gold is leaving Switzerland for the risk of European war with Russia. And I thought, well, I don't think there will be. And they say, well, that's why it's moving out. I said, okay, I understand why it's moving out, but I think the cooler heads will prevail. And are you aware that a consortium with Donald Trump is making initial gestures to buy Nord Stream 2, the corporation in Switzerland?
I had heard that, yes.
Yeah, well, they're talking about 20 cents on the dollar, or maybe a little bit better. When you shut down and sabotage the Nord Stream 2, it goes down in value. It goes down in value, and it continues to languish. So Trump is looking to buy it, and then he'll use his own little private army or wing of the U.S. military, or the honest part of the Navy, because the dishonest part of the Navy did the sabotage. under Biden, or not Biden, or Biden was dead. Come on, let's get real. So Trump is going to use the Navy commandos, and before it was Ukrainian commandos, U.S. commandos, and Swedish logistics. Okay, I get all that. But imagine that the Nord Stream 2 comes back online and Trump says, look, if you get rid of your nitwit cabal president or Chancellor Olaf Scholz, we can promise that your economy will not be totally destroyed. This is a comedy of cabal destruction. And the losers are all the people in the German society who believe the news, which is spoon-fed. But now there are hints. I don't know if people are aware of this, but they're trying to abolish political opponents and political parties that are opponents. They're trying to abolish the independent party of Germany now. And this is not going to work. The demonstrations, they'll riot and burn places down. I'd like to see them throw Olaf Scholz off the balcony on the 3rd floor while he's waving to all of his paid sycophants. Imagine Trump says, get rid of your leader, get rid of the sanctions, stop funding the war. You don't even need to fund NATO because we'll dissolve it. And we'll bring back your industry and your jobs and your economy, and everybody will be better off in a couple of years. That's, I think, going to be the offer, Ron. And it's exciting because it's going to coincide with the gold and silver market, bull market, that's going to go on for a long time. One of the most common questions I had months ago was, how long will this bull market in gold last? And I said, 5 more years.
Really?
Not 5 months.
Wow.
Long time, Ron. We've got a long way to go. If
so what do you think in the ultimate price is going to settle at?
Okay, I have to give a story on that. Then I'm gonna close down. Okay.
Okay. All right.
It was 2020. I called the guy Maxwell from Luxembourg. He was a great guy. He was a friendly guy. But he had a lot of serious attacks close to home, okay? Like his coworkers, his company, and his family. And he had to go quiet. But for several months, he was a client and a source of information. Okay, he told me about 2 different things. He told me that the Russians and the Russian Orthodox Church, I'm going to make this a long-winded story because it's so fascinating. It's not real long. The Russian Orthodox Church, in about 200 or more different churches, now they're Christian. They're Russian Orthodox, though. They don't honor the Pope. They don't like the Roman Catholic Satanists. They don't want that. They got, what do they call it? Patriarch Kirill. I think it's Kiril. It might be double L. I'm not sure. But the Russian Orthodox Church, Ron, at the Bolshevik Revolution, they built false basements and false walls, and they hid in over 200. It might have been far more than 200 churches. They hid 100,000 tons of gold from the communists, from the Soviets. They hid it. And after Putin came in, and after, the entire reverse revolution, it's a capitalist revolution. There's more capitalism in Russia than there is in the United States. And most people just cannot wrap their heads around that.
No,
all right. So he told me, Jim, I need 2 weeks at least to verify that. Because I got some Russian sources. They're in the military. I know some military people in Europe, and I know military people through them in Russia. And he said there are 2 military mountain vaults in the Urals. And that's where they moved all the gold from the churches, 100,000 tons. And I said, Max, You got to add the Kremlin's 25,000 tons. He said, absolutely, absolutely. Russia has 125,000 tons of official reserve gold. All right, that's one thing. Then he said, Jim, a fascinating phenomenon and event is going on in Switzerland, because I've got clients, I've got old partners and old colleagues. And here's what has been happening. The Euro Central Bank under Draghi at the time, Mario Draghi, they had every 2 weeks a lunch. Every 2 weeks a lunch, and they invited over 100 people, 150 people, and it was traders, bankers, individual large investors, and another group of types. Okay, they showed up at the lunch. There was a cafeteria. Some of them did the brown bag thing, and they were allowed to show their grievances on stage, and they were allowed to mention names if they wanted to, like JP Morgan Switzerland. He said JP Morgan Switzerland took some heat from that, but that's okay. They don't care about heat. You can go fly a kite. Doesn't matter. We don't care about your opinion. What are you going to do about it? You got no legal authority. You got no arresting authority. You got no court authority. So just talk all you want. So they had stage. Okay, on stage, it wasn't just a bitch and moan on stage. He said some of them were grievances, like they had, an overnight pounce and they lost $5 million and they had to shut down their firm and start anew 18 months later. A lot of different bitching and moaning, but he said, Jim, there was like 80% of it was constructive. Where is the gold market going? What is the demand going to be? Where are the battles for existing gold troves? And then for silver, who are the principal buyers? What is the risk to supply? Will there be national security issues for stockpiles? And all these different things. And here's what he led to. He said it was August of 2020, and I did say the Euro Central Bank under Draghi was the host. So the Euro Central Bank said, we want to do a poll. And we want you to put it on a piece of paper and stick it in the bottle as you walk out. Stick it in this big jar. And we want you to tell us what you believe after all of your experiences on withheld supply and withheld and corrupted demand and all these different devices that you're all discussing. We want to know your equilibrium price for gold and your equilibrium price for silver. And it was 400 silver, 10,000 gold.
Wow.
25 to 1, Ron. And he said, Jim, that I believe is where we're heading in the next several years, not the next 2 years. Okay. That was 4.5 years ago, Ron.
So we've got about a couple more years. Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is going to go. We might get a revaluation to make a big leap. We might move toward 4,000, then suddenly it's made 7. And then they decide, well, this worked out well, but in order to make the central bank solvent, we really need 12,000. That's what I expect to happen.
You have mentioned in the past, just like. I forget the exact term that you used, but they're basically like jumps that were instead of going up like slowly or consistently, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%. It's like one day you'll go up 10%, and the next day you'll go up like 60%, and then so it's like it'll be like just non-linear jumps or
discontinuous.
Discontinuous jumps. Thank you. Discontinuous jumps. Are you looking at that for both gold and silver, or just silver?
I'm looking at it for both. If we get a jump, let's just say that they move from, say, 30. Once we get to 3,500 gold, they go directly to. Let's say they go directly to 5,000. Silver it'll be impossible to keep it under $50.
I agree. I wholeheartedly
Impossible.
agree. But I think you're going to see when stuff like that happens. I think you're also going to see the crypto markets, or at least the utility cryptos, are going to also explode.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Pardon my diversion. Something came up. I think we need a higher gold price before they talk about actually doing a revaluation. With the higher gold price, they will permit discussion of the advantages to the central banks for that higher price. And then they will say, we want more of that. Ron, I'm a very practical guy. I say, well, I don't know how that's going to happen, or how they're going to justify that, or who's going to do it, or when they're going to do it. I was called basic man in college. You're very pragmatic.
Well, and I'm sure that there's probably a lot of worse things they could have called you.
And in fact, when it came time to pursue a career, and that's really a graduate school decision, I thought, well, I don't want to go into mathematics. I want to go into something that relies upon mathematics and has a lot of practical usage, and that is statistics and using the programming and computer usage, and that worked out very well. I must say that I had a roundabout way of getting a doctorate in statistics, but I had a bachelor's in computer science. I did not major in math in college. I had a 2-year period where I took a lot of math, and then I entered the Carnegie Mellon graduate program in statistics. And they challenged me. I get this is a personal issue. They challenged me, and I understand. They said, Jim, you seem unstable. I said, yeah, I know I'm unstable, but I do good work. I know I'm unstable, but don't hold it against me. And they said, well, you got to prove yourself in your master's year. We're not going to give you a fellowship. I said, all right, well, you're really just putting a supercharge on my backside for motivation. And I ended up being the top master's student out of 12.
Wow,
and they gave me
a fellowship
boy. The second. I burned it. I burned it, Ron. I had 2 different doctoral students on fellowship, and they were saying, Jim, how did you do number 4? I said, oh, well, it's a little tricky. Let me show you. I'll give you a hint. You don't want the whole thing, do you? I'll just give you a hint. And I'll come back in a couple hours, and if you need more hint, I'll help you. Wow. Okay. That was what happened. And I got to tell you, my office mate committed suicide. He did not pass the second year qualification exams. And he had let's just say a military industrial complex fellowship, scholarship. I don't know what they call it. Grant. And he said, Jim, I'm ruined. They don't let me come back next year. Carnegie Mellon would, but my company wouldn't. I'd have to go back, tail between my legs. I said, Larry, you go back with a master's. What's so bad? And he said, I can't do that. I can't do that. My family would be very upset. My colleagues would be upset. My company would probably fire me. I said, then get another job. You have a master's from Carnegie Mellon. What are you doing? A master's in statistics. You get a job. If I don't make it with my thesis, I'm going back. I'll go to Boston with a master's in statistics and get a good job. He shot himself in the head the next night.
Wow.
He was gone. Larry's gone. That was traumatic, and I needed several days before I could just get my head screwed on. But there were no more classes because it was a PhD qualifying exam. And that means you're done with the classes. The school year's over. You got 2 hard as heck exams, one in probability and one in statistics. And he failed them both. And I said, Ron, Larry, how did you fail the statistics exam? I didn't think it was all that hard. He said, I don't know, Jim. Maybe I'm just not that good. I don't know. You're much better at this than I am. I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I said, go to Boston, get a different job. You got a master's in statistics from Carnegie Mellon. He said, I don't know if I can do that. Anyway, there's a lot more to that story. I'll leave it alone because it's kind of gruesome. What he did was kind of gruesome. It was very nasty what he did with respect to one of the professors. And I got along with every one of my professors except two. I got along with all the professors except two.
Okay, so I have a funny anecdotal story to tell you. It's not anything on the level of what you're talking about, but okay. So when I was in the Navy, we did a mock invasion of Iwo Jima on our way over to the Gulf, right? So our ship pulled up, and I knew a lot of it because I was on a ship that was ferrying like 2,500 Marines. And I knew some of the guys that were going ashore. And I said, hey, can you get me some sand? Can you give me some of the sand, from the beach? And he's like, sure, no problem. So he brought me back some sand from Iwo Jima. And I was at that time, I was taking a military history class. And then I had two classes with this one guy. And he was like a business teacher and whatnot. Anyway, I go into his office and he's got on his wall the John Wayne picture or the poster of Sands of Iwo Jima, right? And I kind of chuckled.
Green Beret?
No, it was I think he was a Marine at the time. I'm not a big John Wayne movie fan.
A war movie.
It was a war movie, but the name of the war movie.
Yeah, okay.
It was but it was literally the movie was the name of the movie was Sands of Iwo Jima. And I said, wow. I said, that's kind of funny. I said, I actually have some sand from Iwo Jima in my backpack. So he's like, are you serious? And I said, yeah. I said, I take a military history class after this, and that's where I'm headed next, and I was going to show it off. And he's like, oh, can I see it? Can I see it? I mean, it's like this guy lit up like a 4-year-old, right? And so I'm like, sure, yeah. I pulled it out, and he's like, can I have a little? And I said, yeah, of course. And so he opened up an envelope and I poured a little bit in, and he was like, oh, you're so in. I didn't have to go to one more class, and I got A's in both those classes. I didn't, just because I had a little bit of sand from the island of Iwo Jima in my backpack that day. That was, I didn't have to.
Was it really Iwo Jima, or was it from the Middle East?
Oh yeah, no, it was really Iwo Jima. It was really Iwo Jima because it was volcanic. It was and I still have that sand.
That was really just a staged event. That was a staged event. You know that.
What's that?
That was during a mop up. Iwo Jima was a staged event. They won it, but then they put the flag. It was just a big mock up. I know there was a real battle there. Anyway, I shouldn't have said that. I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think Iwo Jima was staged, but I think what you're talking about is you're talking about the raising of the flag on Mount Suribachi was staged, because the first one they put up
the flag that was a staged event. Yeah.
Well, the first one they put up was okay, but then I guess the commander wanted a bigger one, so then they took a film crew up there, and then that was when
and MacArthur
put the second one up.
MacArthur coming in, MacArthher coming in knee high in the ocean. That was another staged event, but it's okay.
Yes,
it's okay.
That's true.
Really care.
That's those definitely political events.
Ron, Ron, I have to wrap this up. I want people to go to the Golden-Jackass website and sign up for the newsletter. And I'm going to be very brief, but I want to inform people that because of my outspoken way and bold nature in calling out evil, calling out fraud, and discussing the financial implications of money laundering and other things that I identify boldly, I am on the receiving end, and every single one of my colleagues understands this now and does not argue with me in any way, shape, or form. They say, you're over the target, Jim. You're pointing out evil, you're pointing out fraud, and you're taking shots. And I just had my 9th fire, Ron. 9 fires in 3 different properties, and they seem to be sequential. And I need prayer protection. I hope, a reasonably strong Christian. I'm always praying for more faith because I'm getting beaten up. But we just had our 9th fire, and it caused a very severe problem and a near-death experience.
Mm.
The 9th fire, they seem to be sequential, and they seem to happen right before a sale of the cursed property. I need help. I need aid. If you're wealthy and you appreciate my work, hit the sponsor button. If you're just, have some extra savings and you'd like to help me out, hit the donate button. Sign up for the newsletter. And you don't have to read the entire newsletter. Read the chapters that are well marked, that are of interest to you. I've always got we didn't talk about XRP, Ron, but I'm just going to say that I think XRP is being held back. The crypto space is all being pushed down. I think XRP is being accumulated by big banks before they load up on the RLUSD stable coins.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
What's going on?
They're pushing it down now because they want to be able to accumulate it at a lower price. That's exactly why I'm of the opinion
it's a discount for you. Don't aid the supply by dumping. Don't aid the supply. And some people have a hard time with that because they need to sell some of their profit. Well, I understand that, but that's just unfortunate. Hang on, because I really don't see how we stay under $20 in the next couple of years. And I really don't see how we stay under $100 in the next few years. And I heard one argument, Ron, that it just sticks in my mind. The SWIFT volume for 1 year, the annual SWIFT transfer volume is $128 trillion. And if XRP captures 20% of that, which I think is very likely, then it's going to 500 or 1,000 on that alone.
Right.
So we got bank after bank. And in the news a month or two ago was Bank of New York Mellon and their CEO, and it was Moynihan, the CEO of Bank of America, and they're talking about all the assets under management, and combined it was like $40 trillion. And I really don't believe that number, but that's what they were saying. And it all was going to be going into RLUSD, Ripple Labs US dollar stablecoin, so that it would facilitate XRP trades. Now, you don't fill the ocean unless you're going to have ships on it, and XRP is the ships.
I think RLUSD, in my humble opinion, is ultimately going to replace the Tether. It's going to replace Tether. I think Tether is a big scam.
The dollar crypto.
Yeah, Tether, and I think Tether is a big scam, and the inflationary price of Bitcoin is directly linked to the Tether supply, which, in my opinion, Tether is just basically like the Federal Reserve of the crypto market. They just print it at will, and whenever there's a corresponding increase in the price of Tether, you get a corresponding increase in the price of Bitcoin, which rising tide raises all boats. But at some point in time, when that crashes, and you don't actually have, they're found to be fraudulent, where they don't have the liquidity to back up what they say they have. I think you're going to see, who was it that said, I forget who said this, is grown men are going to weep. And there's going to be a lot of weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth in the Bitcoin market. I still want Bitcoin to.
The gold price is going to rip their faces off. That's the phrase I heard. The rise in the gold price is going to rip their faces off. Yeah, this is untold history, in case you didn't figure it out. I know you got untold history, but honestly, I got to say something else. I have no social network account that posts anything. I have no social network account for YouTube, for Twitter, for Facebook. I have none that posts anything. People are imitating me and giving out advice. I have no social network posting anything.
Right.
Everything you see, there's some that are legitimate and it's following my work, and that's all fine. But some of them are claiming to be me and giving out financial advice, and that is pure fraud. I've had 20 emails asking me, "Is this really you?" And I said, "No, it's not me."
I would like to echo that. And if anybody in my comment section ever tries to tell you, "Hey, thank you, and here's my email address, and here's my WhatsApp number," that ain't me.
Yeah,
I don't. I do respond to comments, but you're never going to see me put if I respond to a comment and it's not my official email, which is Untold History at Untold History Channel at Gmail. If you don't see if it's something different, then it is not me. So
yeah, well, there's a lot going on, Ron, and they're also repackaging some of my older video shows, like from 6 or 8 months ago, and they're pretending that they're recent, and they're not. That's why I put up, the date and the site. And Ron, I know it's a little annoying. I know it's annoying to see this moving around while you're talking.
It just
okay.
prevents
but this
people from
enables people to know from changing the date. And I got the date behind me, but I saw a video where they took some of the other parts of the wall and they painted it over my date board. Okay, there's a lot of really nasty stuff going on, and there's a lot of stealing. Not a lot. There's some stealing of crypto accounts, telling people you got to move it. Your account on Coinbase is unsafe, and they steal it. You don't fall for that. Just say, well, let me get back to you tomorrow. Give me a call tomorrow. I want to look into this. Thanks. Because most of the time it's fake. I have 2 clients who got robbed that way. All right. Well, anyway, Ron, I need to emphasize again that for 8 years, I have been attacked. 8 years. And it's cost me a tremendous amount of money. And recently it almost cost the life of a dear one. I don't want to share details. I've had 9 fires. I've had 5 incidents, 6 or 7 incidents of a collapsed roof. I've had a rat attack. I've had an erupted septic tank. I've had a murdered colleague. I think a second murdered colleague. I've had 3 fatal car crashes. I've had 3 wrongful death lawsuit court orders. Just the 9 fires, that's not normal. I looked into this, Ron. It's like 1 out of 100,000 homes per year has a fire. 1 in 100,000 has a fire. Now, if you got 7 years, then you multiply that by 7. I'm sorry, you divide the 100,000 by 7, and then it's 1 in 13,000. But 9 fires, we're up in the trillions, quadrillions for odds, okay? And that is what convinced my colleagues. I said, Jim, if it were just 2 or 3 fires, I'd say that was random. But you got 9. I said, it's not just random. I mean, it's not just 9. They're sequential. We finished the repair, Ron, a year and a half ago on my lady's condominium. And as soon as we were done with the repair, and it's over $10,000. Her mother had a fire. Okay, they're sequential. When we had the collapsed roof, we fixed one corner. As soon as we were done, another corner. That did 4 times, 4 corners. Each one was $8,000. Okay, Ron, I'm being harmed, I believe, and so do my colleagues and many of my clients. I'm being harmed by dark, powerful forces. And I just was told several days ago that there is more demonic activity in the United States now than has ever been in our history. We're in a battle of good versus evil, God versus Satan, fraud versus honesty, and this is historic. And I'm in the middle of it, and I'm getting harmed. So if you appreciate my work and you want to help me to survive and to continue, then hit the donate button, hit the sponsor button, and if you're wealthy. I got a number of people who do that. I'm telling you, I'm under pressure right now. So I need help right now. And it was a $19,000 fire. $19,000 fire. So it caused a ripple effect. And I'd like to have like a campaign, a drive for raising maybe at least half that amount. And I'm going to be thinking about how to do that. But help me to get started, people out there. And there are a lot of folks who don't want a newsletter and they just rely on video shows, and that's all fine. But you know, help pay some of the freight. All right, Ron, I got to go. Thanks for having me on. Golden-jackass.com.
Golden-jackass.com.
I got to go, Mr. Navy man.
Yes, and Navy and Dodgers. So I'm proud of my Navy service, but I love watching the Dodgers. So anyway,
and I'd like to do a raffle on who the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback is going to be.
That'll be interesting. That'll be very interesting. Yeah, but
there aren't many more candidates, and there aren't very many more slots. Okay, it's going to be interesting. Anyway, baseball season, and you know, MVP Ohtani, golly, is that guy impressive? Did you know that Aaron Judge has 5 home runs already?
Yeah, I saw that. You know, and I'll say this about
how many homers does Ohtani have? Does he have 3?
He has like two or three. I think it's 3.
Oh, he had 2. You know, no, he had 2 in one game. Then he had a game winner.
He had 2. I don't think so. I think he had one on opening day. He had 1 in Japan, and he had 1 the other day. So I don't think he had 2 in one day. The only person that had 2 in one game was Mookie Betts. So that I'm aware of.
Mookie Betts really lose 20 pounds?
Yes. He got
Any idea
sick.
what it was?
No, it was some sort of a stomach virus that it was some sort of a stomach virus, and the plane ride over to Japan was really unbearable, and then they sent him back, and it was even worse. But yeah, he couldn't play for several days.
Did he get something in Japan, or did
no?
He get it in the US?
No, I believe he caught it in the United States on the way over. So probably somebody on the Yankees didn't like the fact that he
airline food
kicked their ass.
Oh, that airline food.
But
well, you stole Mookie Betts from the Red Sox, and have not forgiven you for that, Ron.
So you can't blame me for that. I'm not the one who made that trade. But anyway, right. You know what? I just I said, I love baseball.
Thanks for having me on.
It's my respite. Have a great day, Jim. Appreciate it. And we will I'll see you guys later tonight for the watch party. Going to be playing Kill the Messenger, all about the Gary Webb and his reporting on the from Dark Alliance, when he was reporting on the not the Cuban, but the Iran Contra stuff. So anyway, everybody have a great day. And right, Jim, Ron, again, thank you for your time, brother. Good luck to you. We'll chat soon. Alrighty, good night. Well, goodbye.
Very good. Stay on.